Brandon. This is real. We're talking. Welcome to Real Talk. So, this is the second episode, and today I figured we'd talk about something close to my heart. That, of course, is spices and herbs. Now, why did I say spices and herbs instead of herbs and spices? I don't know. I just like mixing things up. So, that's what I did. Now, you might be thinking, that's kind of random. Why are we talking about spices and herbs? That's simple. Well, one day while doing differentials, I was like, it's getting spicy in here. That would be a cool name for a podcast. And I was like, okay, that's could be my next episode. So I guess it's about spices and herbs. So I am doing this completely because I thought of the title first. That's why we're doing this. So, if we want to just get into this, we can just get started. Now, you might be wondering, what is a spice or herb? Well, spices are pretty interesting. Herbs, still kind of interesting, but not as interesting as spices. Now, a spice is defined as a seed, fruit, root, bark, or other plant substance primarily used for flavoring, coloring, or even preserving food. And they're distinguished from herbs, which are just leaves, flowers, or stems of plants used for flavoring or garnishing. But why? Why do we start spicing things up? Well, that's because back in the day, the olden day of the past, you gotta think caveman days. This is before we had a fridge. So when you and your caveman buddies were out there hunting woolly mammoths and saber-toothed tigers, probably not saber-toothed tigers because that's hard, but woolly mammoths for sure, woolly rhinos, and other woolly things because I guess like deer and shit have wool, or is it fur? Maybe sheep's? I don't know. Anyway, when you were out there hunting for meat and you made a kill, that's a lot of meat. You gotta realize a whole deer, a whole mammoth, that's an elephant. That's a fuzzy elephant worth of meat. So hunting's not that easy. You're not gonna be able to just go out every day and kill a mammoth or a deer or whatever. So you're gonna want to make that kill, all that meat, last as long as humanly possible. Now, you might be thinking, well, it's the ice age, it's cold as shit, you're good. And you're right, son. That is totally correct. Back in the ice age and such, when it's winter, you just put that stuff outside, it's gonna freeze, nothing's gonna grow on it. It's gonna stay relatively fresh and last pretty long. Now that is if you live up north where it gets cold. Now, let's say you live somewhere spicy, for lack of a better word, and tropical. Well, suddenly, it's not like 30 degrees Fahrenheit out and cold enough for your meat to stay good. It's like 70 and sunshiny and nice out. That's how meat rots. See, by freezing or refrigerating something, you're slowing down the metabolism of any organisms that are living on it. So, bacteria, molds, the whole thing. So their metabolisms slow down. They grow, reproduce way more slowly, and they, in turn, don't break down your meats and grow on your meats, and they stay fresh. Now, that's fine when it's cold out, as I just mentioned, but warm climates, that's the opposite. It will speed up their metabolism, and they will reproduce a lot and will grow a lot more, so your meat's gonna rot a lot quicker. Now, if only there was a way for, I don't know, people to kill bacteria, like an antibiotic. See, that's why they give antibiotics to animals before they, kill them. And that's why that's a whole thing. That's like, oh, this is antibiotic free chicken because they're trying to kill any bacteria, which, is good. But back in the day, they didn't have that. So what did they use? Well, funny story, a lot of plants also don't want to have a bunch of bacteria and fungus just growing on them. So they produce chemicals to kill and inhibit them from growing on them. And what are these plants we call? We call them spices. So they will kill off any bacteria because they produce a lot of antimicrobial chemicals in their leaves, stems, their plant parts. So these people in warmer climates would put spices onto their meats, and that would keep the bacteria at least inhibited for a while and keep it fresher for longer. Plus, on top of that, spices just taste good. So, like, of course, you're gonna add it to your food if it makes it taste like freaking bomb. So, that's mainly why we use spices and herbs. So, I figured let's just look at some spices, learn some shit about spices, because That's pretty cool.
Now, spices are important. I mean, throughout history, people wanted spices. And by people, I mean white people, because they didn't have any spices. And then they're like, oh my god, we put spice on shit, and it makes it taste fire, like hot, like really hot. Like, oh my god, I need some water. Even though milk actually works better when you eat spicy things. Now, tangent, because guess what use spices? Chicken wings. Super hot chicken wings. So, me and some of my friends once went to the Quaker Steak and Lube in Erie, PA. Pretty chill place. They got wings. They got a hot wing eating thing. I paid to do it. It was $10, but you got a T-shirt if you did it, and you had to sign one of those cool waivers that's like, hey, if you die or whatever, don't sue us. So that was pretty neat. So I signed the waiver. Me and my other buddy, we did it. So we're like, all right, let's go. So we got 5 of these, like, a triple atomic hot wings. So I was like, all right, let's eat this. So I eat the first one. I'm not thinking it's too bad, actually. I'm like, wow, this sucks. My other friend, he's dead too. So, ate the wing. And then I had the second one, and I realized, oh, yeah, it's not because it's not hot. It's because, oh, I can't feel my mouth. Oh, I actually think my body is going into shock. So that was good. So, like a smart boy, I did not stop. I kept going because god damn it, I wanted that fucking t-shirt. So I went for it. My eyes were watering. I was crying. I went to the bathroom 6 times, not to vomit or anything, but just like to, I don't even know. I was just like, I don't want. I just had to wipe shit off of me. I was like, ah, like exact noises I just made. That was me. So it was really, really, really hot. But while I was in shock, I realized I had to do this. So I ate the other wings and I got my fucking t shirt. Now, I couldn't feel my legs fully or my arms for about another 10 minutes, and I ordered like 6 things of beverages. Like, I was drinking beer, and I had more beer, and then I made water, and then I had water, and I think I got milk too at that point, and I was just like, I just need my tongue not to be on fire. And yep. So, but I got my t shirt. That was the important thing. And I still have that t shirt. And if you look up at the wall of the Quaker Steak and Lube in Erie, Pennsylvania, my name is there because I did it. Also, my picture. Well, actually, it's not there. I think they had it on like a rotation for whatever month. But my name is there. My name is there for sure. So take that, L, my haters. Totally did it. I am a wing eating maniac. And that's all thanks to spices. That made me cry. Because I did cry. And then when I got home, I had to poo real bad. And it was not a fun time. But that's another note. Now, back to whatever I was trying to get at. Spices, super important in history. Why do you think they discovered America? Why would you think Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492? It wasn't for a tan, I think. He was on a boat. Maybe he was tanned. He could have been tanned. Columbus could have been really tan, actually. But I don't know. Maybe he was a bronze god. All I know, Columbus was like, we need that spice. So Columbus, he's Italian. I'm Italian. I can relate to this spicy need. We actually kind of have some spices. We're not the best spices. We're better than most white people. You go up to England, they don't got spices. They don't know what they're doing. It's England. All they got is like Quidditch. Wait, no, that's Hogwarts, which is in England. So I guess they do have Quidditch. They got rugby and cricket and football. Yeah, England football. Anyways, so he was like, all right, King, Queen, Spain. I need someone to fund my journey to the New World because I'm going to get spices. It wasn't actually to the New World. It was to the Indies, which is like in Indonesia, in India, because that's where a lot of spices come from. And he was like, let's just do this. Let's just do a shortcut because the world's smaller than I think it is. But it's not. So he sails and he's like, oh, that's America. They got spices there. Which they do have spices there. Thanks, America. You're coming in clutch yet again. Anyways, so that's why Europeans knew there was an America, even though like the Vikings were in like Canada before, and I guess no one knew that, which is interesting. That's a fun fact. Vikings were in Canada, and like apparently they fought Native Americans. There were literally Vikings versus Native Americans in the past. That's a real thing. Look it up. They should make a movie about it. Maybe they did. I think they did, but it was terrible. I never saw it. This is third person. I'm just spitballing. But anyways, so spices have been important in history because I live in America and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for spices. So thanks, spices. Herbs, maybe one day you'll have your moment in the sun, but not today.
So, spice number one, I think we're going to start with rosemary. Why? Because it's rosemary. I don't know. We'll just do that. Now, to be fair, rosemary's an herb, but since I feel like I haven't talked as much about herbs, even though they're basically the same thing as spices, just a little different, we're going to open it up with that. Now, rosemary, that's from the Mediterranean area. So that's pretty cool. It is also a member of the mint family, which, another herb, so makes sense. Now, apparently, rosemary has been found on cuneiform stone tablets, at least mentioned, since 5000 BC. That's pretty early, which, makes sense. Olden days people, they like their spices. So, the rosemary, you mainly use the leaves for flavoring. I mean, sometimes you keep the stems attached, but mainly the leaves are used for flavoring and at least cooking. Now, another fun fact is that people actually use rosemary as pest control because of the antimicrobials and such in the leaves apparently are distasteful to insects. So, continuing that theme of spices keeping away gross shit. And yes, technically it's an herb, but we're talking herb and spices and herbs. So, just keep going with that. Now, when you use rosemary in culinary escapades, I suppose, what you'd like to do is it's mostly used as a stuffing. So, like if you're making a turkey, you stuff some rosemary in it. You're making a roast, you stuff some rosemary in it. So, if you see a hole, you stuff it with rosemary. I guess it makes your hole smell good. Don't try this at home, kids. Now, the oils, I guess, are used for perfume, so, that's cool. Make you smell good. Huh? Huh? So, some other just random fun facts about rosemary. So, apparently, if you decide to use it in high doses, like very concentrated rosemary, it would cause vomiting, coma, and pulmonary edema. So, fun times. But apparently, it also, according to some research, helps slow cancer. So, that's pretty cool. No one likes cancer. Cancer's lame. It slows it down. Good job, Rosemary. Taking one for the team, helping out. Also, apparently, it's bomb in mac and cheese. I heard that secondhand. Don't know if it's true. But you know what? One day I'll make mac and cheese with rosemary. Maybe it's bomb. Try it out. Who knows? So now, spice number two. We're going to talk about something sick. Something cool. Nothing's cooler than mint. Except maybe ice. Icebreakers. Cool mint icebreakers. Which have mint flavoring. There we go. Pretty good transition. Anyways. So, mint. It's another herb. Kind of related to rosemary and the rosemary family. We're just keeping it together. All right, I like it. Now, people like mint because it's just fresh, You heard the term minty fresh? It's minty fresh. That's why like half of gum is mint flavored because it's literally the freshest herb out there. Now, in cooking, it's used a lot with lamb and stuff for, cool lamb flavorings like mint jelly, which you always fucking need. I learned that from Gordon fucking Ramsay. We always need your fucking mint jelly. So put mint jelly on your lamb. That's basically the takeaway I wanted from this section. So, okay. That's the mint, basically. Also, it's just fresh. That's why half of the toothpaste are also mint flavored. So you got gum, toothpaste, mouthwash, just mint's a clean flavor. But we're going to keep going. Now, next spice, we're actually doing spice, not an herb, because I'm a boy who likes spice. So, spice, real spice. We're doing nutmeg. Now, nutmeg, you get it from a seed of a type of evergreen tree. The scientific name is Myristica fragrans, maybe. I'm always really bad with scientific names, at least pronunciation wise. But anyways, it's a seed. It's a seed, so that's pretty cool. So it's also a source of essential oils, apparently. So, essential oils. That's useful for things. And apparently it you can be allergic to it. I guess you could be allergic to anything, but nutmeg's another thing you could be allergic to. Now, nutmeg, the spice, you make it by grinding seeds into like a powder, and that's how you get like the spice nutmeg, which is used for baked goods, I guess, and puddings and taters and meats and sausages, and is used in the beverage known as eggnog. Now, your boy here loves eggnog. Favorite part of the holiday season is eggnog. Can you put alcohol in it? Yeah, I'll drink it without alcohol in it. I will put alcohol in it. I do not need my arm twisted to do such, but I will eat it with or without. And by eat, I mean drink, because you don't eat eggnog. Or maybe you do if you put it in the freezer and freeze it, but that'd be gross, so don't do that. Now, apparently, you can also make a spice known as mace from the red seed colorings of the nutmeg seed. And this apparently produces a more delicate flavor than normal nutmeg. And it's used for like baked goods and meat and fish stuff and pickling and stuff. Now, that's pretty interesting. Is it the same mace you use in pepper spray? Could be. Maybe. But it's actually not. So close. The same color, but it's not what you use in pepper spray. So if you try to blind someone with the mace, the spice, I mean, it probably still work. You're probably throwing shit in people's eyes that shouldn't be there. It's probably gonna hurt. But it probably won't be as bad. Probably just be like, that stings. Why would you do that? That's really mean. Why would you do this to my eyeballs? They're on fire. But then you just wash it out a little bit and it's easy. I like pepper spray where you're on the ground crying like a baby. So, if you see me in real life, don't pepper spray me. Don't do it. I don't want it in my eyes. Now, there's some interesting history with nutmeg. Now, the earliest known use of it was 35,000 years ago, based upon apparently some residue found on ceramic potsherds. Now, it was on the island of Pula'i, which is part of the Spice Island, because they had just a lot of spices, and it used to be the only place you could find nutmeg and mace in the world. Spice Island's also called the Banda Island. Now, anyways, these islands, pretty cool. They were spices. They were the Spice Islands. Those were some of the islands they wanted to go to when Columbus and shit was like, Ocean Blue, 1942 is what I'd said, but it's not 1942, it's 1492. I mixed it up. 1942 was World War II. That'd be pretty interesting if Columbus was in that. Someone should make a show, Columbus in World War II. He'd be on the Axis powers because he was Italian. And also, he's kind of an asshole. So, he's on the asshole team. And then we could have like some Americans led by some Native Americans, and they go and they like beat up Columbus. It'd be pretty awesome. Pitch for a show. But that's not happening. But if it does happen, if you're a TV exec and you're like, that's a cool show, hit me up. We'll work on it. Anywho, back to spices. It was prized in medieval European cuisine because, it's rare and good. So they're like, let's make this pretty good. So, yeah. And that's why all the Europeans were like, hey, let's go colonialize things, get some spices. And that's what happened. So the Spice Islands, they're part of Indonesia. Guess who took control of Indonesia? We call them the Dutch East India Company. So they did that. So the Dutch have control of the spice. They're spicy people. So that's what happened. Now the Dutch did lose control of it, and Indonesia's its own country now. So Fun fact, guess who makes most of the nutmeg and mace in the world? Is it Indonesia? The answer is yes, it is. They make like 75% of it because they're that good. Now, apparently, you can also get poisoned by nutmeg. That was a fun fact. Even though it was used as, like, back in pseudoscience, they thought it was medicine, and they're like, okay, just give this kid some nutmeg. He might be dying, but he'll live. So if you use too much of it, you die. And it also can produce allergic reactions like everything. And it's just fun. It also apparently causes psychosis. So that's fun. So if you use a lot of raw nutmeg, apparently it can have psychoactive effects. So no one get high on nutmeg because of me. Don't do it. I don't advise it, so don't do it. But it's also, bad for your pets. So don't feed them nutmeg. In large amounts, it's toxic. So just don't do it. Don't do it. Just leave nutmeg alone. Why did I even talk about it? Get out of here. There's probably nutmeg in your freaking counter, on your countertop. It could be in your cabinets, your cupboards. Oh my God, we're all dead. Nutmeg's gonna take over the world. Nutmeg. But I've overreacted. So next up, what's our next spice? I'm gonna say we're gonna go with Szechuan peppercorn. Why? Because I have a history with Szechuan peppercorn. So let me set the scene. It was December the 23rd, 2019, far in the past. Now, I, a mere boy of 23, was required to make a meal for our Christmas festivities. So, I decided, why not make a duck? That is a delicious food source. Now, we actually made 2 ducks in our family for that Christmas feast. Now, my brother made the other one, I made this one. So we had a little duck off. It was a fun time. Anyways, so I, being a weirdo, decided to try a random recipe. So I Googled the internet, looked around, tried to find a duck recipe. What did I find? I found the recipe for Nijing salted duck. Now, what did that recipe need? I needed Szechuan peppercorn. Now, you can't really get that in like your normal grocery store. So I had to make a trip to the Asian market. Now, the Asian market, that's in Albany. I live in the capital region of upstate New York. It's a fun time. Anyways, it's great. So I went and I got to go to the Asian market. So I drove into Albany, went to the Asian market, and they had it, but they had a lot of other stuff. I love the Asian market. They sell they had little tanks of crabs and fish in it that you eat. There's a bucket of frogs, not even kidding. They have a bucket full of frogs that are just living. They just live in a bucket and you eat them. But I wasn't there for frogs. I was there for Szechuan peppercorn. It was a little hard to find because, of course, the label was not in English. It was all in Chinese, and I don't read Chinese, so that was a little difficult. But I kind of deduced where it was using my brain. And then I got some other stuff for it because I needed a bunch of other stuff. I needed some star anise, which was actually right next to it, so it was really, really convenient. But anyways, so then went home, waited 2 days because it was the 23rd, and then I made that duck. It was pretty great. It was a process. I had to boil it. But anyways, point with the corn is I had to rub that sucker on Szechuan peppercorn that I dry roasted in a pan for 10 minutes with salt. And I had to let it sit in the fridge for like 2 minutes. So I rubbed the peppercorn all over the outside and the inside of a duck. And then I boiled it. Then I put a bunch of other shit in the water as I boiled it, and it was pretty crazy. And it actually turned out pretty decent. So that's my history with Szechuan peppercorn. So Szechuan pepper, that stuff comes from a tree. It's actually the seeds of a tree. What tree? It's known as the prickly ash tree. And it's, as the name states, very common in the Sichuan region and Sichuan cuisine of the southwestern area of China. So that's pretty neat. And it's also one of the mainstays in 5-spice powder, which is actually another spice. Made of 5 spices. What are the 5 spices? We got star anise, we got cloves, we've got Chinese cinnamon, Szechuan pepper, and a little fennel seed. So that's the 5-spice powder. It's actually a pretty cool one. I always keep a thing of five spice powder handy. It's good for Chinese cuisine. Use it in a lot of recipes. You use it for like a lot of different things. Duck. Actually, basically, when I made my salted duck, I pretty much reincorporated it into the pot when I made it. I pretty much used everything in the pot except fennel seed and cloves. But I use cinnamon and star anise and Szechuan pepper. So I guess 2/3 of a five spice powder. But yeah, it's a good spice rub for like chicken, duck, pork, and seafoods. It's really good on like fatty meats. But back to the Szechuan pepper. Now, Szechuan pepper, it is pretty cool. It's used in a lot of things. Nanjing salted duck, that's something. It's pretty cool. You can also make it into oil and use that to like stir fry things. So, pretty cool. Now, here's a fun fact. There was actually a US import ban of it for a while because it could be carrying a citrus canker, which is a bacteria which you get from a bacterial disease. It was difficult to control and it would harm the foliage and fruit of citrus crops. So they didn't want it. It didn't actually it doesn't harm humans, but it like destroys plants. So they didn't want our, citrus industry being like, "Oh, we dead." So that's fun. So there was actually an end till 2005. So if I tried to make this in 2005, I couldn't get my Szechuan pepper. So that's pretty crazy. Now, let's go on to another spice. The spice, we're going to call it cumin. Now, cumin, that's another spice that's from the seeds of a plant. The plant, what's it called? Well, I actually don't know. Probably the cumin plant. That's probably what it's called. Do I have a scientific name? Yes. Do I want to say it? No, but I'm gonna. It's Cuminum cyminum. So it is the cumin plant, I guess. So that's a fun fact. Now, cumin is native to the Levant. So that's pretty dope as well. And apparently, it was cultivated in ancient times for a while. And it was an important spice. So basically, it was used everywhere. It was very important, especially in places like Greece, where apparently they would just keep cumin in a container at like a dining room, It's like how we keep normal pepper and salt in little salt pepper shakers. They had a cumin shaker. So, cumin, pretty important. That's a pretty cool spice. Now, I also found the nutritional facts for cumin. So, guess who's just going to read those off because why not? So, how much energy do you get per 100 grams of a cumin seed? Well, you get 1,567 kilojoules or 375 kilocalories of energy. Gonna keep going. What about the carbohydrates? Well, there's 44.24 grams of carbohydrates. Your sugars, 2.25 grams, and your dietary fiber, 10.5 grams. Fats, well, someone has 22.27 grams of it. Saturated is 1.535 grams. Monosaturated, 14.04 grams. And polyunsaturated, well, that's 3.279 grams, sir. Protein, 17.81 grams. That's pretty crazy. What else? What else? What's happening? I'm invested. Vitamins? There's vitamins now? Well, yes. Vitamin A equivalent, 64 micrograms, 8% of your daily value. Yep, vitamin A equivalent beta carotene. I didn't say the whole thing. Why didn't I? Vitamin A, 1,270 IU. I'm assuming that stands for international units. Thiamine, 0.628 milligrams. That's 55% of your daily value. That's pretty neat. Riboflavin, 0.327 milligrams. 27% of your daily value. What? Niacin, 4.579 milligrams. 31% of your daily value. Vitamin B6, 0.435 milligrams or 33% of your daily recommended value. Now that's crazy. Folate. There's folate in this shit. It's got 10 micrograms, 3%. Folate is lit. B12, vitamin B12. There's no vitamin B12. That's a lie. Choline, 24.7 milligrams or 5% of your daily value. Vitamin C, 77 milligrams is what I'd say if it was, but it's actually 7.7. with 9% of your daily recommended value. There's no vitamin D, so just get that out of here. Vitamin E is 3.33 milligrams or 22% of your daily value. Vitamin K is 5.4 micrograms or 5% of your recommended daily value. Now. What do we have here? The minerals, calcium, 931 milligrams or 93% of your daily value. Iron? There's quite a bit of iron. There's 66.36 milligrams or 510% of your daily value. Wow. Next we have magnesium. Magnesium, 931 milligrams or 262% of your daily recommended value, along with manganese, which is 3.333 milligrams or 159% of your daily recommended value, while phosphorus is 499 milligrams, one away from 500 and only 71% of daily value. Now, potassium, you have a lot. There's like 1,788 milligrams, 38% daily value. Sodium, 168 milligrams, 11%. Zinc, 4.8 milligrams, 51%. Other constitutes, water, 8.06 grams. Let's go. Let's go right now, cumin. We did it. We did the cumin. Moving on. What's next? All right. So, you know what? Fuck it. Let's do bay leaves. We're going to end with some herbs. Now, bay leaf, it's a leaf, and you get them dried, at least I do. And I put it in soups and stuff. It's pretty good. Made beef stew with it. You use it in beef stew. Soup. When I made that Nanjing salted duck, your boy put in some bay leaves. So, bay leaves come from a tree. Laurus nobilis. So, sounds pretty cool. And it comes from different places. There's like a California bay leaf, there's an Indian bay leaf, an Indonesian bay leaf, a Mexican bay leaf. A lot of bay leaves. Fun fact, bay leaf is also a Pokemon. Is it a good Pokemon? Usable with Eviolite, but we'll get onto that because also Chikorita was the worst starter just overall. And if you don't think so, fight me. Anyways, no more bashing on the Gen 2 starters because I actually like all of them except Chikorita. So back to bay leaves, the plant that is real and not a Pokemon. Now, bay leaves, apparently Canada regulates them for some reason. Who knows? So apparently the Canadian government requires that bay leaves contain no more than 4.5% total ash material with a maximum of 0.05, of which is insoluble in hydrochloric acid. To be considered dried, it has to contain 7% moisture or less. And the oil content cannot be less than 1 milliliter per 100 grams of the spice. So I guess this is a spice. Is this a spice or an herb? It's from the plant, so I imagine it's an herb. But it's dried, so I guess that, and it can be ground, so I guess in that sense it's a spice. So no one will ever know. What we do know is that they're good in food. Apparently are used in Indian and Pakistani cuisine. And that's why they have Indian bay leaves. And this ingredient in something like a garam masala. So there we go. What will we end on? Well, I'm Italian, and one thing we like is basil. Put basil on a lot of things. I do, anyways. Which is weird because it's native to the tropical regions of Southeast Asia and Central Africa. And according to what I'm reading, it says it's a tender plant. So, it's very tender, very soft. But there's several varieties of basil, and we got things like the sweet basil, otherwise known as Genovese basil. And there's Thai basil, there's lemon basil, there's even holy basil. That's Jesus basil. That's what I'm calling it now. Don't know if it's actually called Jesus basil, but who knows? Now, even basil gets sick. Because apparently there's something called Fusarium wilt, which is a soil-borne fungus that will quickly kill basil plants, like especially the seedlings. So, even basil has a hard day, even though, it's got the essential oils and all that in its leaves. That's why we like it. It literally kills off shit. But I guess not that. That's the thing that doesn't kill off. So, come on, basil. Get your head in the game, man. But yeah, fun fact for basil though. So when you're cooking with basil, you should actually use it last. Because if it cooks too much, you destroy the flavor. So, fun fact, don't cook basil too long. Put it in the last thing. Put it in your pasta sauce. I got a recipe from my great grandma Lorio's Calabrian pasta sauce. Mwah, mwah, delicious. So, hope you enjoyed this episode of Real Talk with Brandon. I think we learned a lot today about spices, herbs, and me doing stupid things. So, thank you, and I'll see you next time. Because this has been Real Talk with Brandon. I'm Brandon. This is real. You leave in Real Talk.